Hey there guys, and welcome to this tutorial I just finished making, and now that I watched the intro I see how bad it is. So today we're gonna be making this full screen native Webflow bar. It works with the native nav bar that's given from Webflow, and that's why I think this is such a powerful tool. I haven't seen anyone really talk about it as much online, so that's why I decided to create a tutorial that might help somebody. Hopefully it helps someone. Make sure to stay till the end if you want to see how you can add all of the animations and where the important parts are when you want to add your custom animation. But if you don't want your custom animation, please feel free to quit after the initial build where you get a pretty basic full screen native nav bar working. But if you want to take it a step further, stay till the end, and let's get into it, shall we? Okay guys, so we're gonna start off with building this menu, which I built for my website portfolio, which is still not finished. And keep in mind, I'm pretty new to this, so I really don't know what I'm doing, but I did figure out how to make this with the native nav bar that's built into Webflow, because there's a lot of tutorials out there that show you custom ones, but none of them really work properly, because all of them just don't make the whole thing work, because the Lottie animation bugs out since they don't show you how to add a JavaScript thingy. And here you've got all the JavaScript code written behind the scenes, so we just need to make the most out of it. Okay guys, so we're gonna start off by hopping into Webflow and obviously adding in the native nav bar. So for some reason Webflow doesn't like working with me today. I get around it. Yeah. So we add the native nav bar. You can use that. You can use the shortcut to quick add stuff, which is Control E or Command K. For Apple users, it's Command K. For Windows users, it's Control E. So type in nav and add your nav bar. Add it to the top. And now we're gonna customize this nav bar so it works properly. As you can see, this nav bar comes with a bunch of elements in it, and we're gonna completely switch it up. So first thing we're gonna do is add another div block inside that nav bar and move everything from that container into that newly added div block, and delete that container once and for all. Now, this new div block, we're gonna make it a flex box, but before we make it a flex box, it's probably a good idea to give it a container property, just so it matches the rest of the design, and then give it another secondary style, which would be the nav. Then make it into a flex box. Make sure the order of your elements is correct, so your brand is first. Inside your brand, add a text block or whatever. Add your logo. That's where your logo is going to be. I'm just going to add a text block there and type in Hi.Val.Design, just so I have a visual representation of what's happening inside there. I'm going to give it bold one, make it white, because we're gonna make the nav bar black later, and then we keep on moving. Then click on the brand, make that brand a flex box so we can center and align that logo. Now go to the settings of the nav bar and make it visible to desktop if you want your hamburger menu icon to be visible on desktop, and if you want your full screen menu to be on desktop as well. If you don't want it to be, then just make your breakpoint wherever you want, but I want it to be visible for desktop as well. Here we're gonna go into that container, which is technically our new container that we've just created, and we're just gonna give it a space between, just so they fit in both ends. From here on, the nav menu and the menu button, these two elements are most important elements pretty much. So the nav menu and the nav menu button are the two more important, shall I say, elements we need here. Don't delete them, because if we delete them, we can build this. It's not gonna work. We need to build it using these two elements pretty much. Yeah, you can delete everything that's inside the nav menu, and just for your visual representation, I'm going to click on the nav bar or any of the elements and go to the settings and show it. Now this is what's gonna show after we've clicked the open button. So this is the nav menu. This is our very important component. This is the one that's gonna be fitting the whole screen. So we want to set this bad boy to a fixed position and to fit the whole screen. And right now it doesn't look like it, but once we add a div block inside, it will fit the whole screen pretty much. And this div block is essentially what's going to become, you can call it grid or you can call it whatever. I'm just going to call it grid for now, because that's how I did it in the previous design, so I don't mess up when I'm referencing something. But you can call it whatever. Yeah, this is your main component. This is the wrapper of everything. Inside it, we are going to add another div block, which will be our column. So this will be our nav column, if I'm not mistaken. that's not how you spell column. Just at the end. And so yeah, we have our nav menu, we have our grid or whatever, that grid, and inside that grid we've got a nav column. Now we can duplicate that nav column a bunch of times, so we have 3 of them or whatever. You can just keep it till 1. It doesn't really matter, it's up to you. I'd keep it for 1 if you wanted everything to be centered and everything to work smoothly. Okay, after this, we want to mess around with the properties of all of these things. So the nav menu, first of all, needs to be a flexbox. It needs to be a flexbox, and then the grid inside it also needs to be a flexbox. Inside this column, that column also needs to be a flexbox, so pretty much everything needs to be a flexbox. Inside this column, we're gonna start adding stuff. Now we're gonna add a link block, and inside that link block, I'm gonna add a text block, so we can see what's happening. And this is essentially gonna be the link for our menu, so we can call this work. So now, it's obviously not supposed to be set there. So let's give this a style. So let's call it nav link text. And then the link block we can call nav link block. Okay, the nav column has a style and the grid has a style. Cool. So right now what we're trying to do is center this link block, but we want to wrap the nav link block inside. And then we want to call this nav link wrapper. Cool. So that out of the way, we've got our nav column. First of all, we want this column to be in the middle. Okay, so we're gonna go to the grid and we're gonna center align this bad boy. After that, this grid needs to fill the entirety of the nav menu, which is covering the whole screen. So the grid we're gonna set to 100% height. Now the grid's filling the whole screen. Now, if we want everything to be centered, then we need to go to the grid and we need to align it to the middle, which aligns everything to the middle. Which is, yeah, you could do it this way. Technically, I'm not gonna do it this way though. I just realized I don't want it to be that way. I want the column to stretch from top to bottom, but then we want the column itself to be center aligned. So now this nav link wrapper will be centered based on the nav column, and the nav column is centered to the middle of the screen. And then, you see, cool. So nav link wrapper, that's our nav link block. We can duplicate that a bunch of times and make the nav link wrapper vertical, flex box vertical, and it doesn't really matter if you space it because it's just spanning the width of them. But yeah, pretty much that's how we're gonna set it for now. And you can change this to anything else you'd like. For example, we've got work. What else do we need? About. Cool. You can have a say hi play, showing where you've done all of your other playful work. Cool. Now click on the nav link block and please remove the underline here. Then click on the nav link text and style it however you want your menu to look like. I'm just gonna give it a 3 rem or something like that, and spacing should be something like 1.4 rem or something like that. No, it should be more than that, obviously. It should be 3 rem as well. Yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense. So something like 3.4 rem is probably good. You can also click on the nav link wrapper, and from here in the row section, if you increase the row, it's gonna space it out more and more, and just design it the way you'd like it to be. Okay, so now we've essentially built the menu. If we test it out, we can see we're losing our nav menu button, which we can easily fix by clicking on the nav menu button and then going down to the position and giving it, let's say, index of 1. Now we've technically done it. Now, up until here, this is pretty much all you need to know in terms of like how it works or how the basic works. If you wanna keep it simple and style the animation by not really putting a lot of more effort, you can totally style that like that. You're pretty much stuck to a drop down animation here, but you can play with the easing and the duration. If you're happy with that, just stick to that, and that's that, yeah. But we're gonna go a step further, and for whoever's interested, we're gonna make the rest of the design. So we're gonna do all of the animation stuff, which is Now, another important part, because this is where a lot of people don't really show you how it works. So if you're interested in learning how to make the whole thing, just stick around and bear with me, please. So cool, let's get into it. Click on the nav menu, and I want mine to be black, so I'll go in and change it to black, and then the nav link text, I'll change it to white so we can see it nicely. Click on the nav menu button and remove that ugly color, please. And now's the time to put your custom Lottie animation inside here. So don't delete the menu button, just delete the icon inside it, and then inside the menu button, place a Lottie animation. There's your Lottie animation. I already have mine. You can download yours anywhere you like. I can recommend you this website. It's pretty handy. It has a handful of animations for a lot of different things you might need in your website, and they're all completely free. That's where I took mine from, if you're interested. So I've placed my Lottie animation here. If you also want your logo to not disappear underneath, then we can actually try going to the brand maybe and see if that works. Give the brand as an index of 1, and then it's gonna stay on top. There you go. Cool. All right, so now I want to style the actual thing. So I'm gonna hide it, and then I'm gonna click on the nav bar and also make this black. Now back at the visible part. Now we're gonna start styling the animation. So why did I build this thing in the first place with the native nav bar? Because the native nav bar has custom JavaScript code written behind it, which tells Webflow pretty much, allows Webflow to use as a trigger the nav bar opening, which you usually don't get. So if you've clicked on the nav bar and only on the nav bar, nothing else works. You need to put all of your animation on this nav bar element, because when you have that one selected, you have nav bar opens, which is very important for this whole thing to work. Otherwise, you need to JavaScript that custom code, blah, blah, blah. Something I'm completely unfamiliar with, so I'm not gonna talk about it much, but yeah, bear with me. So click on the nav bar and go into interactions. Add a nav bar open element trigger, and this is where we're gonna put all of our animation. So before we get into it, we need to do one more thing. We need to go to the settings and just remove this duration. So pretty much when you remove the duration of the initial animation, now it's just going to be an open and close, which allows us to override it and make our own animation on top of it. Cool. So let's start off by starting an animation and making this nav full screen nav open. So here's where we're gonna add all of the opening animation. So a very important part is to have, so we put all of the animation on the nav bar, but most properties we animate are the nav menu properties. So we animate the nav menus properties. So we select the nav menu, and a very important thing is the hide and show. When do you want it to be hidden? When do you want it to be showing? That's very important, because this essentially overrides the initial hide and show features or properties that are given with the nav bar. So when you set it to be hidden in the beginning and set that as an initial state, and then right after it you set it to be show, you're essentially overriding everything else. So this show animation must happen before all of the other animations, so you could see all of the other animations. So for example, if I want to have an opacity here as an initial state 0, and then we add the next opacity after the hide and show to be 100%, give it a app expo. Now we can see we have, make it a duration of 1. We have what is opacity animation. Another important animation we want to add is go and click on your Lottie animation, give it an initial state of 0, and then go and animate it so that we get the cross and I'm pretty sure that's around 36%, and I'm gonna do the duration 0.72, matching it with the time that's actually passed in the animation. So now when we click it, our animation also changes. So something else is in my initial animation, if you can see how the words are coming from behind a mask, so they're pretty much coming from the ground up. There's like a mask that's keeping them together. If you want to achieve this effect, it's pretty easy. You just need to go and click on the nav link block. We want to probably show it first so we can see it. Click on the nav link block and make this nav link block overflow hidden. Now when we mess around with the nav link text transform, it's going to stay hidden behind that nav block. So then the nav link block is now essentially working as a mask for our text, which is quite cool. So let's go back to our interactions and go into the open settings. And ideally, you want to click on the nav link text, give it a move transform initial state, which would be 100%. And if you can see here, 100% gets it exactly to the bottom of it, and then at the end we're going to give it another one, which would be 0%, right? And we can match this animation to the nav menu opacity animation. Just make this 1 and give it a out expo actually, and give it a duration of 0.2, so that happens slightly after the opacity, so you can actually see the animation happening, you know, otherwise you won't really be able to see it happening. And now everything is coming from underneath, and there's so many more things you can add here if you want to, obviously, but you don't need to. So right now, if we were to click it and then try and close it, it's gonna bug out completely. That's why we need to add the closing animation and do some other stuff that fixes it as well. So let's rename the, so yeah, we duplicate the first animation we did, we rename it. Let's rename it to close and get in here. And now we need to pretty much reverse the animation. So we want, this is the hide and show is very important here particularly. So here we want the initial state to be flex, and then we want the animated state to be hidden, but we want this hidden to happen at the end after everything else has happened. Because if it happens before everything else, then you're not even going to see the animation, it's just going to close. And if that's what you want, that's fine, but I want mine to animate out as well whenever one of these buttons is clicked, or whenever the button is clicked. So I keep it at the end, and from here we just need to reverse everything. So put this back to 0, the Lottie animation goes to 36% here, this goes to 100% because these are the initial states, and then the nav menu goes back to 0 and animates out. Remember, this goes back to its initial, and then this goes up to 100%. And if we now try it out, it is almost working, apart from that little bug that sends our text all the way to the left, which is something I have faced before and have somehow managed to fix before. Not 100% sure how I fixed it before, but it would be a matter of our nav column. Yeah, there you go. Our nav is just that our nav column needs to be set to justify center. That was the problem, I believe. Okay, and apart from that, we don't want to change the sizing here. We want to keep it shrink if possible. So now it should work, and it's still not working, which is odd because it usually works. All right, let's try and figure this out. Maybe we want this one to be. That's not the problem there. Maybe the problem's in the grid itself. That should be it. There's a lot of properties that can move that thing. it is a bit of a pain. It is a bit of a pain. So, oh, there you go. It's probably this one. Yeah, there you go. So our nav menu was set to justify left. So it for some reason bugs out, and even though there's settings overriding that, it would still do it. I'm not sure why, but now you've got your nav menu working properly on open and on close. On top of that, whenever you click any of these, it's still going to work and play those animations again. And basically that's just how you do it. From here on, you need to probably just scale it differently for your different breaking points, but this one particularly kind of works for all of them. There's a lot of space, but that's fine. And yeah, that's pretty much how you make this super simple, what do you call it, full screen Webflow native nav bar. Yeah guys, let me know if there's something I've missed or something I've done wrong. I'm open to constructive criticism, so I'll be happy to hear in the comments down below if there's anyone even watching this video, but hopefully there is, because there really isn't a lot of people that have talked about this and how to do it exactly like the way I did it, because there's a lot of problems with the previous ones. For example, you can make this completely custom, but then you don't get the nav bar open option, which just makes things complicated, because then you can only open and close from the button. The animation bugs out sometimes, and it's really annoying. It's really annoying. But yeah, this one works perfectly, and there shouldn't be any problems with it whatsoever. From here, you can go in and make this nav bar into a component. Create new component, full screen nav, please. Yep, there you go. Now you can put it on all of your other pages, and it's gonna work perfectly on all of them, pretty much. And yeah, that's about it, guys. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell me if I missed something again. And have a nice one. Peace.